when the show came on, I didn't watch the show, but right away, I mean, remember how I said that frickin' circle is an incredibly open-ended storytelling device? I knew that. I knew that when they're like, oh, they made a show about it. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a good idea for a TV show.
Yeah,
Like
that's gonna work.
Yeah, that's a great idea for a TV show. I didn't know all about the Goa'uld and all the mythology that they had created. I just knew they had a thing that you stepped through and went to other planets, which to me was cool. And so we watched a few episodes, and I think we told this story where they gave us the Bible, and it was like this thick,
already
this giant binder. And this was after 3 seasons, not 10 seasons. It was already, and I'm like, we can't read this. So I skimmed it, and but mainly we watched episodes and just tried to hear the voices of the characters and feel the tone of the show. And then we pitched. And I think I don't know if, so the original pitch, the first pitch that they liked and that we turned into an outline was Scorched Earth, I believe. I think that was the first one we wrote. And then Window of Opportunity, I think, was also in that group of pitches. And I think that was the second one that we wrote, even though it wound up being produced first. And one of the things, I just watched Window of Opportunity for this. I went back and I was like, can I watch any episodes? I'm like, there's too many. I can't watch all the season ending cliffhangers. I watched 20 episodes. So I was like, I'm going to watch I'm going to watch that one because that was the first one. And I watch it, and it's a very funny episode. And I think that's key because we talked about humor before. And when I saw the pilot, Children of the Gods, right? The line that stood out for me most, all this crazy stuff is happening, but I remember when O'Neill says, come with us. And Teal'c says, I've got nowhere to go. And he says, for this, you can stay at my place, right? Or something to that effect. Right away, I knew, okay, I get it. That I get. I get that kind of dialogue. I like that kind of dialogue. Crazy stuff's happening. People are getting shot at with lasers and stuff, but he's like, for this, you can stay at my house. It's a funny line. It sells the character. It tells me everything I need to know, honestly, about that character in that moment. And so it's like, okay, I heard that, right? And so it's like, okay, we're going to write that, or try to, we were new. And what's amazing as well, if you watch Window of Opportunity, the reason that episode works is because it was a role reversal episode where O'Neill and Teal'c had to do the thinking, or at least more than their share of the thinking that they normally did.
Which is funny.
And it was funny. But what's interesting about that is that it showed how well that show was already developed, even after 3 seasons, because for us to go in and pitch a role, the roles had to already be so established that it would be funny to see them reversed, right? So there was already a foundation there that we worked off of. And I never really thought of it that way, but when I watched it, I was like, it's kind of interesting that as first-time writers, we came in and pitched this kind of an episode, and that they were okay with that. And that, Rick and Chris played it so brilliantly. I mean, it was pretty cool that we got to sort of, that was our door in. And I liked the episode. I liked it. It was funny. I know it's a fan favorite to this day, which is pretty amazing because, going back to what we were talking about, what makes good science fiction? I mean, it's not an original concept, right? Like it's Groundhog Day. We're ripping off Groundhog Day. Everybody knows we're ripping off Groundhog Day.
It works because of the knowledge of Groundhog Day, though.
Yeah.
You can watch them without it, but having seen that film, it's a more enriching experience.
Yeah, I guess so. I hope so. But my point is, the concept is fine. It's neither here nor there. It's all in the execution, and the execution is in how the characters interact, and that's why it's funny, and that's why people like it to this day, even though it's not the biggest episode, or it's not. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a lot of the other Stargate stuff that we did over the years. It's a pretty simple, small story, but it was funny and relatable, and for that reason, people still like it to this day, which is incredible to me because it was, like I said, the second script we ever wrote and the first one of ours that got produced.
I remember watching it and laughing so hard. It had been so long since I'd laughed so hard at the television set. And we get to the end of it, and O'Neill says, I know the grief that you're going through. I know what it's like. And Malachi says, you can't. And O'Neill lashes out at them. I know. And I would never go through that again. And the entire series, I think, is exemplified in that moment because we can have the hysterics of the situation and also the poignancy of two men coming together through an understanding of what it is like to suffer and what a person can be driven to do to stop the suffering.
Right.
And it worked.
So there's two elements there that are working, right? And that make good, I would just say, you could say television or movies or storytelling in general. There's humor and there's heart, right? That's it. Everything else is bells and whistles, right? Yeah, you want adventure and you want surprises and twists, but what you really want are those other two things, because those are the things that make it relatable to people and make them want to spend time with the characters and go through the adventures, right? For me, it's so absolutely key to science fiction specific, especially to have a little bit of humor and some heart, right? Have just this kind of emotional core that grounds everything. So it's not just crazy stuff happening in space. And it's right. It doesn't have to be huge. It's one moment, right? It's one moment at the end of the episode, but it's a real moment. It feels real. It feels genuine, and it causes an emotional resonance in the viewer, and that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and it proves that, it just reinforces that everything that could potentially be working with those characters is, because you can do a role reversal of all of those archetypes in this episode, and it still holds up because the performances are so genuine and the writing is strong.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great way to start our run on Stargate. I didn't realize that it would sort of resonate as long as it has at the time. But great. I'm very glad it did, and I'm very proud of it.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.